guys really well. I've been watching Jay Speit compete since he was literally like 7 or 8 years old. I think that this is a position versus submission matchup. I think Isaac has phenomenal positioning, great takedowns, all that type of stuff.
I'm down here. I gotta go. Keep going.
But
gotta go, man.
But Jay,
thank you for everything, man.
Jay's a scrambler. Jay's a submission guy, and Jay's good at just kind of making things up as he goes along.
You gotta do the same name on.
So now Isaac's got really heavy hips right here. It's very, very hard to elevate in this position. I saw that in my last match. But Jay's really flexible. Jay's got really, really long legs. So sometimes that can play to his advantage in situations that you normally wouldn't be in trouble. Jay can kind of do funky things. Like that. See, because he's so long, because he's so flexible, he can kind of do things that you're not really expecting him to do.
Would you call him a bigger Tung Fu?
I haven't rolled with tongue enough to say that. I don't think it's quite the same. You know what Jay is unpredictable. I'll say that, and where you can really see that is that Jay doesn't. I haven't rolled with him in a few years, but based on what I've seen, he doesn't follow, kind of the normal progressions. He gets one thing, and then if he loses it, he just gets the next thing in front of him, and so sometimes it's not what you expect it to be.
That'll be interesting for someone like Isaac, who has an extremely well-rounded game, but also, I think maybe a more straightforward game, in that.
Right, yeah, I think that if Isaac's able to stay tight and kind of keep it a more basic, classical game, like what he's doing right now, staying tight, not giving Jay a lot of space, then Isaac should be able to control the positioning. But Jay just has such an incredible amount of mat time from such a young age that he's always dangerous.
And we just saw an exchange similar to the one that you described, where Jay using his length to sort of trap Isaac's arm for a moment, and now Isaac has passed to what looks to be a modified case of Gatami, and there goes those legs again.
Yeah, and actually years and years ago when I think Jay was a blue belt and was a teenager, he actually got a black belt in this position and broke the black belt's forearm with almost like a reverse bicep slicer. And that video kind of made its way around the internet at one point because it was such an off-the-wall thing. So Isaac definitely has to be careful right here because there's some stuff that could go on.
This is one of the things I love about jiu-jitsu is that like fundamental jiu-jitsu will always stay with you and it will always work. And a lot of times when one player has
really funky scramble position here, we got to his back.
Yeah, Jay has an underhook on the right side, so he's unable to choke him from there. And Isaac defending the choking arm, passing it over the head, trying to anyway.
Well, I'll say this. I think that the longer this match goes, the more it probably favors Isaac, because a guy like Jay does stuff that you don't expect him to do, and he gets you in weird spots. But the longer you're on the mat with him, the more you become familiar with what he can do. But right now, early going, especially with Jay taking this on late notice, he hadn't really had any time to prepare. I think early going, when he's fresh, right now is his chance to go for an early submission.
That makes sense to me, because we don't know how much, we don't know what Jay's training and preparation has been like going into this match. Isaac July was supposed to go up against Cliff White from Swamp Fox Jiu-Jitsu. Jay Speit, a late replacement.
Right. Well, and Isaac competes all the time, so I don't...
Between your legs over here? Wait, that's not being recorded, is it?
Yeah, it is. Sammy Seth just reached between my legs. It's on tape.
That's not the first off-color joke that's happened by accident, but people didn't realize we were recording, so...
But yeah, Isaac competes all the time, so I don't think that he's ever really out of shape, and I don't think that the style matchup matters that much to Isaac because he competes with so many different people. But Jay is kind of a unique guy in terms of the things he's able to do.
Jay looks to be attacking Isaac's right arm.
It's a pretty good attempt. If Isaac's got his feet pinned to the floor, if Isaac's able to keep the feet on the floor and step around the head, he should be able to come out.
And he goes back the other direction.
Yeah, that was he did an escape kind of like that with me that it was so wrong that it worked. But hey, if he's able to do it and he's able to do it consistently, then it's good for him. I mean, it's fantastic.
That's one of the things that is. I always tell people, when I say always, I mean like 98% of the time, because there are always some folks that are like, I can make this particular thing that you would never teach a white or a blue belt. I can make this thing work.
Sure. Yeah. And so there's a sloppy guard pull by Jay and right into a smash pass for Isaac. And Isaac has a phenomenal passing position here, but Jay can just worm those legs back in there, and if you give him a little space, he can do something funky.
That was not the kind of funky he was looking for.
No, well, and that's the problem, is that when you're creating something as you go, a lot of times you're removing your own structures to do something that may or may not work, and that's what happened right there.
So Isaac able to go straight to mount, squeezing Jay's knees together. Almost the kind of pass we used to call the power hump.
That is exactly what it was, is power hump. I didn't know if we were saying power hump on the Dirty White Belt show.
We are. We're not saying honey hole, but we will say power. So one thing, like, as someone that's been underneath Isaac July, you know what his pressure is like, and what is his pressure like?
I wouldn't say Isaac's solid. I wouldn't say that his pressure is necessarily heavy. I had a hard time moving him around, but then Jay was able right there to insert a hook and get a sweep off of it, you know? So I really feel like, I mean, this is a long match. We still got a lot of time left. I think that Jay's unpredictability is really just the thing right now.
And this is one of the reasons I love making black belt matches long matches, because you get to watch these people that have put all this time and energy into learning this art work in many different positions.
Sure.
Like, I hate seeing, like, I don't think you get, unless there's a submission, it's so rare you get a true result in a 5-minute match where it's like, and like, let me express myself a little bit carefully here. Oh, Isaac Airlines. Oh, wow.
The official Isaac Airlines is a little bit different. I flew on that before. But yeah, Isaac will get you up in the air if you're not watching.
Saida Durkee with a really impressive performance earlier, I thought.
Saida looked great. Schroeder's super tough. That was definitely a battle of two monsters right there, as far as blue belt women go. And I think, mentioning Saida, I think that Isaac probably trains with maybe tougher people than Jay does. I don't really know who Jay is rolling with on a day-to-day basis. I know that Isaac and Saida train a lot with high-level people, so that's definitely a factor in the match.
Yeah, Isaac definitely, black belt under Leo Dalla, goes out to Abmar Barbosa's all the time, has a bunch of tough guys in his own gym that and as you mentioned, competes really regularly at a high level against guys such as yourself, against guys like he just had a match on a Fight to Win card.
He just got double gold for no-gi at the DC Open last weekend too. I mean, Isaac's is a stud. Jay is just kind of a spoiler here. He's an unpredictable guy.
And to piggyback off of that, very nice.
Basic scissor sweep. Jay's got to be careful here because Jay's competed under lots of different rules, and Jay is comfortable heel hooking and reaping the knee, but he's not allowed to do that right now.
One of the things I love about Isaac's guard is a lot of his sweeps are what we would call basic sweeps.
Yeah.
Overhead sweep, scissor sweep, really fundamental stuff, where he effectively uses off-balancing technique to get you up in the air, and once your weight's up in the air, he can dump you pretty easily.
Yeah. Also, because of the once again difference here in kind of background, where Isaac's much more of the kind of the IBJJF type competitor, and so maybe Isaac's a little more strategic. Jay has competed under every rule set you can possibly imagine. But he's not as much of a strategist. He's a let's just see what's going to happen type of guy. And so as the match goes on, we'll see how that plays out. Brandon Garner's, whispering sweet nothings at me.
Oh, I always ask Brandon when we're going to see him on Toro Cup, and he's always like, when you legalize strikes on the ground.
Yeah. I want to be like Brandon Garner when I grow up.
Yeah. You and me both, Jake. You and me both.
This is a position that I don't remember, but I don't think I ever got closed guard on Isaac in our match. So this is kind of an interesting thing to see what's going to happen. And Jay's a very long guy. They chose to stand back up.
Mm-hmm. This is interesting too because we may see Isaac go for some of those powerful throws, but Jay sits down wisely, I think.
Yeah, wisely. I'm not sure that. All right, so here comes inverted upside down crucifix, whatever it is that he just did. Triangle. I think Isaac's too far out for him to get the triangle, but the arm is a big factor here. I think Isaac's probably breathing some dirty air, but he's not getting choked. If Jay starts attacking the arm, though, it can get interesting.
Looks like Isaac able to do the jiu-jitsu shakes and But that was a position exactly like you described, where everything Isaac did there, I would say, was correct in terms of, fundamentally passes the knees,
right,
and then suddenly he's able to
legs.
Yeah.
I think just as a general rule that I try to follow is against these really rangy, flexible guys, you got to keep your hips pointing down at the floor. I think that was Isaac's mistake, is he switched his hips a little bit too much towards the head, and that allowed Jay to bring his legs up a little bit more than if he stayed more flat on top. But you're really splitting hairs at that point. These guys are both black belts. They know what's up. I do think that at this point, Isaac's felt enough of Jayness that he's trying to be a little bit more safe here. He's being a little bit more conservative than he was a couple minutes ago.
This is something I talked with Cody Malte about on the show. Cody, another guy who does some very unorthodox things.
Right.
And you mentioned, when you roll with somebody that does unorthodox stuff, you might get caught. Because just you haven't seen something before, or somebody does something that other humans are not able to achieve. And Cody's attitude on that is by the time you know what's going on, he wants to be out of the cage cashing the check, or.
Oh, and that's definitely. It's a valid argument. Cody's awesome. My jiu-jitsu is a little different than Cody's. I'm a little bit more of a traditional jiu-jitsu guy, but you definitely have to beware of the funk with guys like that.
I roll with Tung all the time, Tung Vu, and we saw some of it. And that was actually Tung in his match today was about, I think, 70% as funky as he gets, and it was still pretty funky, right? You had these sort of flying cartwheel passes. I'm trying to choke you from inside your guard, and it can throw you off, right? Especially if you're going against an untrained opponent, you know that they're going to do things that are quote wrong unquote. When you're going against a purple belt and up, you do not necessarily expect them to be like, okay, pass my guard and now I'm going to try to invert.
Yeah, and they might have in this case, a black belt level of execution on something that you think is wrong, but they do it at a black belt level, so it's maybe not wrong for them. What's your favorite Tung Vu match?
Probably this one right here.
Yeah. Well, here comes. See, and look the direction Isaac's hips are facing again. He's very comfortable in that scarfold position. That's how he got his guard pass points on me. But that's what's allowing Jay to flip upside down like this, because all his weight is forward onto Jay's upper chest instead of staying a little lower on the hips.
Yeah, and Isaac is having a tough time escaping that rear arm.
Yeah, that's a tough. He's essentially in a crucifix. It's just not what you classically see, but the control is going to feel the same as a crucifix control.
1 minute left in the sub-only match. I'll ask you this: I don't use the crucifix position a lot, really, and partly because I'm not good at it. But it's always felt to me like, okay, if someone escapes from that crucifix, now I'm in a terrible position. I'm on bottom, under side control.
Right.
And is that your perspective as well, or is it a kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm not a big crucifix guy either. I think that Isaac right now is holding Jay in this position on purpose and cooking him. Here comes Americana. I think he's too high, though, onto Jay's chest to be able to finish that. I don't know how much time's left.
Less than a minute,
but
20
seconds, yeah.
So you think he's just squishing him.
Yeah, I think Isaac's a very good competitor. I think Isaac's working the clock right here and cooking him a little bit.
Speit is yelling at him to finish it.
But Jay's hips are free. His hips have the ability to rotate, so it's very hard to pressure that arm just as quick as he can right here.
Oh yeah.
And there it is.
And this is one of the things that I like to say when people say that what it's like to roll with somebody. I would say, was he there? Jake was there.
Right, exactly. I don't deal in rumor and innuendo. So there's 2 points for Isaac. And so now Jay has to play catch up for the next 4 minutes and 45 seconds. It's plenty of time, but I can tell you that Isaac, when he wants to slow the game down, he's very, very good at that.
I remember once in the barn, when we were training at your barn, preparing for the Worlds, you had us do some short time drills to accentuate exactly how much pressure it puts on you when you're down on points in a competition match. And first, the score is such an advantage.
Yeah, huge. And Isaac has put himself in a position where he can play safe. I don't know that he will. I think Isaac's he's a competitor. He wants to get the finish, but he can play safe. And here's a guard pass.
Very nice guard pass. Isaac goes up 5-0. This may be a situation like what you described earlier, Jacob. Like, I've seen the funk.
Right.
Now I know those legs are coming. I know how long they are.
Yeah. And as long as Isaac keeps his head in the middle of Jay's stomach here, he's going to take that flipping, inverting stuff away from him. Jay right now needs to create some motion. He's gonna like that. He needs to continue to move his body and try to get Isaac off his center line so that he can flip up and do that escape that he likes to do so much.
And there it is.
But Isaac makes safe move, just pulls out, and I think Jay's out of gas here. I think this is where the preparation comes in, where Jay hasn't been preparing for a 20-minute match with a guy like Isaac.
Yeah. And I think that last part is critical too, because it's not like this is just any 20-minute match. You're competing against a guy who competes all the time, who has a big gas tank and top pressure, who's just probably been cooking you for the previous 15 minutes.
Right. I definitely felt that he turned it up a notch in overtime in our match. There's another pass by Isaac. I don't think Isaac's going to do anything silly. I don't think Isaac's going to take a big risk, but I think the points are going to start to pile up here in a hurry. And Jay's going to have to continue to take bigger and bigger risks, but he's getting more and more tired, so it's going to be very difficult.
Hamid Sanders calling for the wrist lock.
Well,
Hamid Sanders always calling for the wrist lock.
Roy Marsh says that all other submissions are just failed wrist locks. And you'll notice that Isaac July did pass to the right as a champion will.
As a champion, also passed standing like a man.
Yep.
Does not live in a tent.
Does not live in a tent.
There's some in-jokes happening here, but like on a very serious note, I will say Isaac is well schooled in all the grappling arts, like high-level wrestling background, going for an Americana here. Is it, Jake, in top half guard, how hard is it to finish an Americana?
I think the top half guard is a great position to finish Americana from. I actually would argue that maybe the top half guard might give you the most leverage to finish the Americana on the top. But what Jay was able to do is escape I use a lot as well, where he's able to straighten that arm and rotate his shoulder. Now some serious shoulder pressure here by Isaac. Definitely giving Jay the ugly face. High mount. Jay at this point is just out of gas. And Isaac knows it.
That's a bad position to be in. Whether you're tired or not, that's a bad position to be in.
And now he's going to work the S mount here. I think Jay's done a phenomenal job in this match, and he can still pull something out. But this overtime has not been kind to Jay Speit.
The S mount, similar to Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania.
Yeah, Ronda made a mistake at WrestleMania. She pulled the arm into her top armpit, the one closer to the head, instead of having it under the bottom armpit. That's why she didn't actually break Stephanie's arm. But I don't think Isaac will make that mistake.
He's going. He might finish this on top.
Yeah, there you go. He's got it. All right. Great effort.
Leo Dalla in urban boxing, Isaac July Jr.